Hello friends, I am Dr. Rajnikant Dodiya. Welcome you all on my YouTube channel. So friends, as the date is declared by NTA NET and it is between 16 to 21st September. So we have very less time to read everything. So but I suggest you no need to read everything. Only read the IMP topics for UGC NET English literature. Not everything because you don't have much time for that. What to read, which topics to select, to read, to revise, that I am going to suggest you today. So here first of all I will suggest you the literary groups and movements, the very key topic, the key unit we can say in English literature. So and it will cover everything, it will cover all the periods of English literature as well as literary criticism. So friends, what we have to read, the ideas behind forming the group and major writers belonging to each group, that is the key point here. So romantic movement, Oxford movement, aesthetic movement, university beats, graveyard school of poetry, pre-Raphaelite school of poetry, tribe of Ben, Bloomsbury group, Edwardian poetry and Georgian poetry, Kiliard school. So all these are different groups and movements of English literature that we have to read only the basic ideas behind forming that particular group or behind starting that particular movement, and the major writers, the major critics, the major poets behind starting this particular movement or group. So that thing we have to revise because it is very IMP point and many questions are asked based on these groups and movements in UGC NET exams. So some of the important topics I mentioned here, for example in the last one, beat movement is there. A beat movement happened in America, then gay and lesbian writing, then new apocalyptic movement poets are there, surrealism is there, imagism, impressionism, expressionism. So all these key words are to be understood properly and the major writers behind them are to be revised. Yes friends, Renaissance, Reformation, the definition of Renaissance and Reformation that we have to understand. Then periodicals, different periodicals were there in English literature, for example Rambler, Tatler, Spectator. So all these periodicals and their issues, how many issues they were publishing at that time. So these things we have to remember. Then disaster, catastrophe, apocalyptic fiction. So novel writing, all these thing comes uh, in novel writing. Then poet laureates, which poet laureates were there, who was the first poet laureate of English literature and the current poet laureate of English literature, then Nobel laureate in literature. These two topics are very important that we have to remember. Then chronological order of literary movements, literary movements are many but we have to remember them in chronological order. Which movement came first, which movement started first. Okay, then the second part is here, important literary terms, literary devices. Yes, that the major important literary terms, I have prepared one video on it and I have covered only the major literary terms. You will find that in my on my channel. So important literary terms that we have to remember first. Then major schools of criticism and post-colonial theories, we have to keep in mind that not only the schools of criticism but the theories came after independence of India, post-colonial theories of the 20th century, for example cultural materialism, post-colonialism, then feminism, all these theories that we have to understand. And what we will understand in these theories, we will just go through the beginning of the particular theory, who started it, who theorized first it, and the major critics behind these that particular theory. Yes, then who were the critics and their major works. For example Raymond Williams from cultural studies, then Richard Hogarth from cultural studies, then new criticism is there, the new theory of criticism, and I. Richards is there, Clent Brooks is there, T.S. Eliot is there. So major writers we have to keep in mind and their major works. Then post-colonial theories, feminism is there, cultural materialism is there. So all these things we have to keep in mind, but the major writers, major critics, their major works, and the beginning of that particular theory, that we have to keep in mind, not the whole thing, whole detail, because we don't have much time. We have read a lot things regarding these theories, and we have seen a lot of videos regarding these theories, but that this time is only for the revision. So to revision, to revise all these things, you have to do only the IMP things, the beginning and the major critics. Then pedagogy of English, when we talk about the English language teaching, then two things are important: pedagogy and research. So first of all, methods and approaches of English language teaching that we have to remember, we have to revise. Then education commissions that recommended on English language teaching, for the betterment of English language teaching. So which commission recommended, on which way, which statements they have passed. So those things we have to remember. Then history of English in India, then research tools and techniques used in literary studies, in literature, then research terminology in literature, then research materials in literary literature studies, then types of research in English literature. So all these things, tools, terminology, materials and types and techniques, all these things are related to literary studies. Some of the forms I have mentioned here, because many times they are asked. For example, who coined the term ode, or who started the writing mock epic poetry, who which ballads are very famous, which satire is very famous. So forms of poetry, only style and major poems that we have to keep in mind. There are many types of, many forms of poetry, but the major forms are epic, sonnet, ode, pastoral, elegy, ballads, satire. These are the major forms that we have to keep in mind while preparing the forms of poetry. So the style of writing poetry, then the major poet writing in that style, that we have to keep in mind. Then forms of prose is there. So only the major works, the major prose written by different prose writers, that we have to keep in mind. So long prose works, essay writing, periodicals, biography, autobiography and memoirs. So all these things we have to keep in mind while preparing the forms of prose, but we cannot omit this part. Forms of prose we cannot omit, because many questions are asked based on this topic. Then forms of drama is there, a very important part of English literature, drama writing. Yes, so tragedy, first of all tragedy written in the Elizabethan age and before Elizabethan age by university wits, then after by Shakespeare. Then morality, miracle, mystery plays and interlude. Then melodrama is there, tragic comedy, mixing of tragedy and comedy both. Then romantic comedy, comedy of humors, comedy of manners. Then sentimental comedy, farce, mask, poetic play, dramatic monologue, problem play, one act play. So all these are the different forms of writing drama. We have to keep in mind major plays in each form of drama. Yes, for example, in tragedy we can remember about Hamlet, because many questions are asked from Hamlet. Then Christopher Marlowe's Dr. Faustus, and many other plays are there. So major plays from each genre, and major playwrights. Yes, so all these things are very important. Then forms of novel is there. We have so many forms in novel writing also. For example, sentimental novel, sensibility novel, picaresque novel, gothic novel, industrial novel, silver folk novel, campus novel, prose romance in the form of novel. Yes, then travelogues, epistolary novel, domestic novel, historical novel, regional novel, prophetic novel, psychological novel and short story. So, yes, only major novels in each genre we have to keep in mind. Which novel is famous as an epistolary novel, which novel is famous as a campus novel, which novel is famous as a gothic novel, as a picaresque novel, that we have to keep in mind, and the major novelist in each genre of novel. Then these two parts I have added here in this video, but we can do revision of these two parts afterwards, after completing the first things that I have mentioned here, friends. So because the history of English literature, it is very vast and very long to revise, but we can do it if we complete everything in the revision part, then we can start this. But what we can do here, not everything, but only the historical background, the major events occurred in the particular age or period. For example, in the age of Chaucer, major events in the age of Chaucer, then major events in the age of Elizabeth, then Puritan age, then Restoration age. Okay, so only historical background and particular thing, IMP thing, we can notice, we can observe in each period, that we can prepare. Yes, for example, literary trends in Restoration age. The drama writing is very famous in Restoration age. Then tragedies are famous in Elizabethan age. So all these things we have to keep in mind. Not everything we can read, because if we read everything, that it will waste our time, and we don't have much time. We cannot, we will not be able to remember everything if we read everything. So read only the key points, only the major ideas. The next one is on romantic age background. In romantic age, poetry is very much famous. For example, Wordsworth is there, Coleridge is there. Okay, then Victorian age, modern age, contemporary English literature, post 1945. So in 20th century literature, we have to read many things, for example, drama, novel and poetry. Then after, the most important part is non-British literature. It includes American English literature, Indian English literature, Australian, German, African and Canadian. So important from these all literatures is American, Indian and Australian. These three parts are very important, IMP parts we can say. And major writing in English was done in all these three different types of literature. Some major writers and poets that we have to keep in mind. For these different types of non-British literature, you can read world literature, a very famous book by the writer Prem Shankar Pandey. Yes, he has written a very good book on world literature. So you can find many things, many ideas regarding non-British literature. That book covers only the major ideas, only the major points regarding examination. So you don't need to read the whole book, but the part where the non-British literature is mentioned, that you can read. So friends, I have given the major ideas regarding the preparation of UGC NET exam. Now what you start preparation, what you feel regarding the preparation, it's up to you. But I will suggest you that only read the major things, only the IMP things that you have noted down. You maybe you have prepared any material or notes, that you can start first. Then at last I will suggest you that if you have question papers of old UGC NET exams, then first solve them. If you cannot solve them, you can just go through all the question papers of English literature. So it will increase your knowledge regarding the different questions, different particular questions that cannot come in our mind while we read for the exam. Because sometimes it happens that some important questions are left in our preparation. So those important questions, those significant questions will be covered from question papers, from past question papers. So keep all these things in mind while preparing for NET. And for latest UGC NET updates, follow me on these particular platforms, and subscribe my channel if you want MCQs on English literature. The best MCQs I will suggest you for English literature exam for 2020. So please subscribe my channel, and please like and share this video if you like it. So friends, thank you very much.